Namaste. The blessings of Ram and Hanuman, and the eternal Guru, and through the technological exquisiteries of WBAI, we begin our moment of here and now together. During the next 4 evenings, we will share many, many words. Some coming through your mouths via telephone, some coming through mine, but all of them his. We'll share music. We'll share readings from some of the great holy books. But behind all of the stuff, we will all be here together. These airwaves allow us the opportunity to cut through so much of our melodrama and just meet inside our head together. And from this place, we can explore where we are on this journey. What we do understand and what we don't. How our minds are quieting and how our hearts are opening. The words that come through me may or may not be of use to whoever you think you presently are. Only you in your heart know the validity of the things that are said. I don't know. Consider me a teaching, certainly not a teacher. In a story by Thurber called The 13 Clocks, which is a super fairy tale, the prince is seeking the princess who's being held by the wicked duke. And the prince goes to his wise man for advice, and the wise man has a very brilliant scheme for getting money if he can find the woman who cries jewel. But then the wise man says to the prince, but now that I have given you this advice, I must advise you that I am under a curse, and that 50% of the time I'm wrong. And I don't know which 50% it is. So that what I'm telling you may be the wisest thing I've ever said, or it may be totally wrong. And that roughly is our predicament. There are moments when I hardly exist at all. And then it's merely coming through me. And then it approaches what almost feels like truth. And there are other times when my ego is all too evident because one of my desires or fears or attachments is touched. And then all we get is more of the stuff that we're all still caught in. We need to have a lot of compassion at this point for our own predicament. Because if you're going to see love in another being, you must first see love in yourself. You must first see back into the place behind your body, behind your personality, behind your senses, behind your thoughts, back, way back in, where we are pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure love. And when you rest in that place, then everyone you meet in that place. And the vibration that you emit when you are resting in that place resonates with every human being, and you become the optimum environment for everybody you meet to experience that love within themselves. The only work we have to do is on ourselves. And that's a hard one. Even when we're doing all of our external actions, if they are not part of the purification on ourselves, we've lost the thread. We've gotten caught back in the illusion. For what one man has to offer to another is his own being. And if that being is purified of all desire and of all attachment, that being is one of pure love and pure consciousness. And there is not one problem in the world today, starvation, overpopulation, integration, ecological pollution, that would not change immediately were the consciousness of mankind to change. All of these problems exist because man's mind defines who he thinks he is and who he thinks everyone else is, and what he thinks this life is all about. The minute he awakens, the minute he gets a little inkling of who he really is, then the meaning of all those problems change. And the solutions become self-evident. And as Buddhists say, we all are the Buddha. But also, we are still much caught in illusion. And during that time, we have our lives to live. and we have pollution to fight, and we have to end paranoia in man's relation to man. But each of these are right action to the extent that they are exercises of working on your own consciousness. At first, sadhana is something you do on Sunday morning when you go to church, or Friday night or Saturday morning when you go to temple, or when you go to the Sufi dance, or you go to the chanting, the kirtan gathering for chanting. And then all the rest of the week you get back into the practical affairs of life. Sadhana starts to expand. Only a sleeping person can be holy on Sunday and profane on Monday. An awakening person starts to realize that every moment of his day, every day of the week, every week of the month, every month of the year, every year of his life, is part of a gradual evolutionary process of awakening to his true being, and that no part of it is any more important than any other part, and that everything that's happened in our lives to this moment has been part of it, and everything that will happen will be part of it. And that the moment on the subway is equally as important as the moment in the cathedral. Both of them are moments for increasing the illusion or awakening out of it. It's pretty far out. Doesn't seem that way to me, but when I think about it from the framework of who I used to be when I was a psychology professor, I think I'm crazy. Because now, for me, there are only two beings in the universe. There's what's left of me, my ego, and there's God. And all the rest of it, all of you and the stuff and the tables and the floor and the trees and the automobiles and the pollution and the birds and the joys and the sorrows and the decay and the birth and the death. All of that is part of his teaching for me. It's his message. It's the statement of his law. Once I am one with him, I wouldn't notice. I would just be it all. So I only even notice it because of where I'm not. And thus he keeps bringing it to me as teaching. So each thing that's presented to me, if it's a hard lesson and I get lost in it and get angry or attached or desirous, all I can say is, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to go through this crap so fast. Thank you for allowing me to suffer. It's far out, for the first part of the journey. You avoid suffering for the first 10 million incarnations or so. and you seek pleasure. You try to get high. You want to bliss out. Then something interesting happens. You begin to see that every time you get high, you come down. And you begin to be more interested in cleaning away the stuff that keeps you down than getting high again. Because there's no sense in getting high, you'd rather be high. To be high, you have to clean away all the stuff, all the attachments. And that becomes your major work once you understand. And at that point, you begin to not dig suffering, you don't seek it. But when it comes along, you don't avoid it or run away from it. Because it's the fire that purifies. And the Bodhisattva vow is to relieve suffering wherever you find it. That doesn't mean you just help people become conscious if they want to become conscious. It means you relieve suffering everywhere. So that if a child falls and is crying, you help him up and make him feel better. You don't demand that he understand about God and consciousness and your trip. Every human being you serve in the way you can serve. But to the extent that you're conscious, you're providing an environment where every individual you meet has the optimum chance to become conscious through his contact with you. I came back from India. I've just been in India for a year and a half with a lot of other people. I've been with my guru. And when he just threw me out of India, he sent me back to America with just 3 instructions. He said, love everyone, serve everyone, and remember God. Those are the only instructions for my whole life. There's no other form. No other form. All the rest I have to listen very carefully to hear how it all is supposed to be. I listen to hear the divine plan. But all I have to do is remember to love everyone, serve everyone, and remember God. And it's far out how subtle those instructions are. When I say to him, how do I raise my kundalini? He says, serve everyone. It's far out. It's far out. That's because the yoga that I pursue is the yoga of devotion and what's called karma yoga. Package deal. In the course of these evenings, we'll talk about many forms of yoga. Many, many forms. There is no form in life that in and of itself is sacred or profane. There's no action. It's the nature of the being who does it. A Zen Roshi can beat a student and be a statement of the highest, purest compassion. Another person can beat someone else, and it can be the most paranoid, illusion-increasing act. You can kiss someone with Judas's kiss of death, or Christ's kiss of life. There is no act in and of itself that is either spiritual or not spiritual. It is only the nature of the being. What you can offer to another human being is your being. Nothing more. Nothing less. No matter what you think you may be offering, you may say the wisest things, but unless you are wise, they are empty words falling into the void. If you are wise, you can say hardly anything and the wisdom is transmitted. No matter how nice all the things I say are, all I can share with you is my being. And to the extent that I surrender, not my, but thy will, O Lord, to that extent it's not my being, but the being. And when each of us becomes a pure instrument, then God is made manifest.